I hope the slide is visible and I'm audible to you. You can hear me. Yes? I'm audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So in today's class, we are going to look at different special admixtures that we use in concrete for some special applications. So one such admixtures is viscosity modifying agents. So as the name indicates, these admixtures, they basically change the viscosity, enable to provide stability to extremely flowable concretes. So sometimes if the area is so congested, or in sometimes we do concreting under water. So in such cases, our concrete has to be stay stiff, and it should not be like too fluid to flow. Okay. The one reason is in congested area, the places will the available size or the space will be very less for placing this concrete. So in such cases, we avoid using aggregates much, and the paste content will be more. So when we have paste content more, and because of if it is too flowable, then there is a possibility for segregation and bleeding may occur. So in such cases, these admixtures, they provide stability so that the mix is staying in its form with stable. So here, these are the admixtures. These are used to prevent washout of concrete in underwater applications. So when we use aggregate concrete in underwater applications, because the concrete should not mix with water. If it is mixing with water, then the concrete will flow and it will not stay in its place. So in order to maintain its integrity, so the mix should be so stable, and this admixtures will provide stability for the mix to stay there. So this is one such applications where it is indicating the flow of mix. You can see the mix is full of paste and with less aggregates. In general, the aggregates, when we place normal concrete, there will be a lot of aggregates, right? So the aggregates, that helps to prevent settlement of the other aggregates. Whereas if we have less aggregates and if we have more paste, then aggregates will get settle at the bottom and more paste will be there at the top. So for a proper concrete mix, we should have the proper distribution of the ingredients that is there inside the concrete. So for that purpose, we should use this kind of viscosity modifying agents, which will help us to keep things together by preventing its flowability. Like if it is mostly these admixtures are too liquid in nature. So when we have too liquid fluidity in nature mix, we should make sure that once we place the concrete should not move around anywhere. So it should stay in its place. So these viscosity modifying agents will help to arrest the movement of water so that it will stay in place when we place the aggregates. Typically, these viscosity modifying agents are long chain water soluble polysaccharides. One second, I will open my pen. Okay, so typically these are long chain water soluble polysaccharides. So basically those are like gums. Okay, so when we add such gums in the concrete matrix, so that will provide stiffness so that the matrix will be more stable. And these are some biopolymers or synthetics that we use as viscosity modifying agents in concrete: xanthan gum, diatom gum, allegites, and hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose and hydroxypropyl starch. Basically, this is used as thickeners in fluid concretes, which will help us to reduce bleeding or segregation and settlements. Bleeding means when we have fluid matrix, the water will come to the top, so that the more water will be there at the top, and the matrix gets separated. And in case of segregation, the aggregates and paste will get like it will not be uniform, and there will be a segregation between the aggregate and concrete. But for a good quality concrete, we should have a good uniformity, and we should avoid such kind of segregation. And settlement, as I said, if we have less aggregate and more paste, like aggregates are heavier in general, so they tend to settle down, so that the paste will be there at the top. So for such applications, we should avoid settlement of aggregates. So when we use these viscosity modifying agents, that will help us to make the flow stable. So it is like, so I mentioned these are used in general in fluid concretes, like in soup. When we have some vegetables and water, we also need the soup should not be too watery. So we add some thickener so that we get the creamy kind of texture, right? So for that we use corn flour or corn syrup, so that the soup becomes like creamy. It should not be like too watery. Similarly, this viscosity modifying agents helps in concrete, especially in fluid concrete, to act as a thickener so that it will stay in form. One of the major applications of viscosity modifying agents in recent time is 3D printing concrete. So 3D printing concrete, this shows how the concrete has placed. You can see the matrix is so flowable when it comes out, but it has to be stiff in its place after placing the concrete. The concrete should not move, or it should not flow away, so it should stay there with proper stability. And you can see in this matrix, it is full of paste with less aggregates. So most of the time we don't use coarse aggregates in such concretes. In fluid concretes, only fine aggregates will be there. Alright. So now we'll look at the mechanisms of this viscosity modifying agents, how this works, how this helps the concrete to be stable without flowing. So there are three mechanisms. One is adsorption and association and intervening. Okay, so when we have adsorption, these molecules added to the periphery of water molecules, thus it absorbs some amount of water and expands, and that will result in increase in viscosity. Viscosity is basically resistance to flow. And when we talk about association, the molecules, adjacent molecules, as I said, these are big polymer chains. They develop attractive forces so that it blocks the movement of water. So this is like opposite of SP, superplasticizer, where the SP plays a role to provide more flowability. Okay, but this here, this kind of interlocks the motion of, blocks the motion of water, such that the matrix will be more viscous instead of more fluid. And the main mechanism is that intertwining. So here the polymers chains that get intertwined and entangle at low shear rate. Low shear rate in the sense, when we pump, there will be like force to take the concrete from bottom to top, especially when we have an area which is inaccessible. There we have to pump the concrete, not directly placing the concrete. That's why we go with this kind of fluid concretes. Okay, so in such cases, this viscosity modifying agents entangle together at low shear rate. That means it provides viscosity by blocking that gets entangled as the chains are attracted to each other. So in such case, viscosity increases. But when the shear rate increases, that means when we pump the concrete, shear rate gets increased. So in such cases, this entanglement gets tightened so that the flow will be uniform. So this is entangled, for example, and this gets tightened. At high shear rate. So in such cases, the resistance to the flow will be reduced and the mix will be good to flow. But once the concrete has placed, again it gets entangled so that it gives resistance to movement. So the matrix can stay in its position. So there is three action. One, first it entangles at low shear rate so that the concrete will be more stable. But when we need to pump at highest shear rate, this gets straightened or it get more aligned so that it easily moves. And then again, we place the concrete in its position, it should not move around. So again it gets entangled and it provides more viscosity. So while straightening, it gets disentanglement and annealings in the direction of flow. And then once we place the concrete, it will again get entangled so that the concrete mix stays more stable without flowing or without collapsing here. So here you can see all the concrete mixes or the layers of concrete are very fresh, but it stays in position to withstand the upcoming upper layers of concrete. So this happens because of the help of viscosity modifiers, which provides more stability to the concrete. Typically, the dosage of viscosity modifying agents should be very less, about 0.03 to 0.08 by weight of cement. And in general, these are like in solid forms, unlike other chemical admixtures, which is available in liquid forms. But there are ways to standardize these admixtures so that it can be available in liquid forms also. So care should be given. Overdosage may cause retardation. So overdosage may result in retarding the reaction. And now we will look at shrinkage reducing admixtures. So we know that when water from the concrete matrix, so we have discussed this in detail in cement hydration process. So we have different pores available in the matrix. So the different pores have different water in it. When the water gets lost to the atmosphere or to the environment by evaporation, that will lead, if there is a blockage for the water movement or if the minix is formed, that will result in surface tension. Okay, so especially when the pore size becomes too smaller, the tension induced will be higher. So in such cases, that minix is formed due to surface tension of water will result in tensile stress. When the tensile stress exceeds tensile strength of concrete, that will result in crack. So now the purpose is to reduce such cracking. So what can we do? By drying of water from concrete capillary pores causes the formation of minixes that result in an inward pull being extended on the pore walls. So basically that forms this minixing and that induces surface tension because of the surface tension, and that results in cracking. So when we add such shrinkage admixtures like polyoxide and ether based, that reduces the surface tension of water in capillaries. So when the surface tension of water is getting reduced, the tensile stress induced will also be reduced, and that will prevent the crack formation due to shrinkage. So thus such shrinkage reducing admixtures predominantly used where we have large surface area, especially in tunnel kind of structures where the shrinkage is predominant deteriorating mechanism. So there care should be given and shrinkage admixtures can be added so that the surface tension of water can be reduced, which will eventually reduce the cracking effect due to shrinkage. And these are the admixtures which can be added about 2 to 4% by weight of cements in concrete matrix. The main purpose of shrinkage reducing admixtures is, so when the water is getting lost, that will induce tension on the concrete matrix because of these minixes formed due to surface tension. So when we add this admixtures inside the concrete matrix, this admixtures helps us to reduce the surface tension of water so that it reduces the consequences of shrinkage by cracking. Fine. Now let's look at corrosion inhibitors. So these special admixtures, the applications that I'm mentioning now, especially for durability aspect, not for strength aspect of concrete. Okay. So these durability aspects we will discuss in detail about this corrosion mechanism and shrinkage, all those things in the durability chapter. But in this chapter, you have to know that there are admixtures available to address those kind of issues we may face with concrete. So corrosion is one of the major deteriorating mechanism in reinforced concrete, which deteriorates the reinforcement available present there in the concrete matrix. So it is very important to prevent such kind of corrosion happening in the matrix so that the structure will perform its design life, and it provides long serviceability. Okay. So how can we prevent the corrosion action? There are four ways. One is oxidizing or non-oxidizing passivators of steel. So we can provide some admixtures so that kind of forms some passivating layers on the top of steel. So passivating layers or is a protection layer on steel which protects the steel this mouse is not moving. Just one second, I have to change my settings. So can you see the screen now? Fine. So this passivator layer is basically the protection layer for steel. Layer for steel. So when we have this protection layer, the steel will not corrode. Okay. So the second thing is the oxygen scavenger that basically reduces the oxygen available so that the corrosion will not happen. So corrosion to occur, there are three things that is mandatory or necessary to facilitate this reaction. One is water, and another one is oxygen. Sorry, there are two things. So one is water and oxygen. Without the presence of these two, corrosion will not occur. Other than that, we have some chlorides and carbon dioxide. With the presence of these two, the steel will corrode significantly. The rate of corrosion will be very high. But the essential thing for corrosion to occur is water and oxygen. So it is very vital to prevent these two. So to get in contact with steel, so that corrosion will not occur. So one way is that preventing oxygen to availability of oxygen in that area so that corrosion will not happen, and then film forming compounds. So when we have some compounds added to the steel surface or on the concrete surface itself, so in the concrete surface there will be some protection, or they apply some coat of admixtures thinking that the admixtures will penetrate into the concrete matrix and that provides the protection layer to steel and prevents from corrosion. And another method is that the cathodic effects, that is paste can be made of hydrophobic so that water will not get into it. As I said, there are two things that is essential for corrosion. One is water and oxygen, and we have to find a way so that these can be prevented. So one is by providing oxygen as scavengers, then applying some coats so that the cement concrete will become hydrophobic. It will not absorb any moisture. Okay. So typically these two are the ingredients that we use as the corrosion inhibitors. One is calcium nitrates and another one is based on organic, that can be amines or esters, alkylamines. And typically these are added at high dosages, about 2% by weight of cement. And in general, these are very expensive when we use, but this will be on a long run. When you see the life cycle of this structure, this becomes very economical, because this prevents the number of repairs that needed for a structure when the steel is corroding. So when the steel is corroding, we need to repair the structures or the steel so that it can maintain its performance. When we use or when we add this kind of admixtures, so that will prevent the corrosion at the initial stage itself, so we will not face any repair issues later during the service life of the structure. So that kind of helps us to save the repair or maintenance cost for that particular structure. And there are various commercial admixtures available, and based on two-part product, one can contain some amines and esters. So here the amine coat the steel and provides film on the steel surface, whereas the esters that make a paste or hydrophobic and reduces the availability of water catalytic reaction. So here two mechanisms are happening. One, the amine that kind of protects the steel by forming a passivation layer on it, and on the other hand, we have esters that can make a paste on the concrete surface, so that kind of provides, reduces the availability of water, which would cause such corrosion actions. Okay. And now we will look other specific admixtures. Those are antifreeze compounds and waterproofing admixtures, and another one is silica, alkali silica reaction mitigating admixtures. Okay, so as the name indicates, antifreezing compounds, it helps in cold weather concreting. So when we have such a cold weather where the temperature is below 0 degrees Celsius, the water gets freeze. Okay. So when water gets freeze, the water available for the hydration process or the setting time will be reduced, because the reaction rate will be lesser at this kind of climate. So we will not, the setting time will be longer and the early strength gain will be delayed. On the other hand, the water gets freeze, so we will not have sufficient water available for hydration process. So in such cases, the concreting becomes so challenging. We need to find a way so that we can make sure water is available for the hydration process, which can help to attain or achieve early strength gain. So there comes the use of antifreeze compounds. When we use such compounds, this basically reduces the freezing point of water. For example, when we add such admixtures like this, so typically the water may get freeze when the temperature goes below 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. Whereas when we add such antifreeze compounds, this kind of pushes the freezing point from 0 degrees Celsius to some minus 10 degrees Celsius. So in such cases, the water will not get freeze and the water will be available for hydration process even at the temperature of about minus 10 degrees Celsius. So if you want to accelerate the process, or if you want to achieve early strength gain, then the antifreeze compounds in such climate will be helpful by reducing the freezing point of water, so that we can make sure water is available for hydration process. And these are some typical chemicals that we use as antifreeze compounds. You can go through this calcium chloride and calcium and sodium based nitrates. And then we have something called waterproofing admixtures. So as the name indicates, these admixtures will not allow water to get into the concrete. Okay, so these are basically organic compounds that absorb on the pore walls and make sure that the pore walls are hydrophobic. When the structure is hydrophobic, that will not absorb any washer. So you can see the image here. So this is the concrete pavement where it was constructed using waterproofing admixtures. So when we have such admixtures in concrete, the surface becomes so hydrophobic. If you add or if you pour some water, it will not absorb, and you can see such water forming on the top of the surface. So it becomes very difficult to re-wet the surface once the concrete becomes dry. Okay, so there are some acids and waxy materials can be used for such applications. These are oleic acid and emulsion of waxy materials and calcium and aluminum stearates. And now we'll look at alkali silica reaction mitigating admixtures. So we have in a large dam structures, we use concretes with a lot of aggregates. So when aggregate is reactive, based on its mineral composition, aggregates may be reactive aggregate, and that may contain some silica, reactive silica. So that reacts with alkalis that is present in the cement, reactive aggregate and alkalis plus water that gives us expansive gel formation. So when there is some expansive gel formation is there in the hardened concrete, that induces some pressure and leads to cracking. So what we should do in such cases, we have to find a way so that there is no such expansive pressure which can cause cracking in the concrete. So we can't, if you cannot avoid the use of a reactive aggregate, because cement anyway contains alkalis, and especially when you have dam structures, water you cannot avoid. There will be a contact with the concrete will be in contact with water. So in such cases, either you should not use reactive aggregate, but if you don't have an option and you have to use reactive aggregate, because the main purpose of using aggregate is because it is locally available, so that it becomes economical. So this locally available aggregate is reactive aggregate, then you have to add such alkali silica reaction mitigating admixtures. Basically lithium will be added as aggregate admixtures in that matrix, so that prevents the lithium kind of which bind the reactive silica, and that forms non-expansive gel formation. So if you do not have admixtures, then it will result in expansive gel which will lead to cracking. But if you add lithium, that provides or that gives us a non-expansive compounds which will not induce any cracking. So this helps us in, especially in the structures like mass constructions like dam structures. You can see the representative image there. So generally this cost of admixtures, any admixtures if you see that may cost a little bit in the initial stage, but if you see the long run, especially the performance of the structure and the serviceability of the structures, then using these admixtures at the early stage becomes very economical. So with that, we are done with chemical admixtures and we will look into mineral admixtures. Okay, so similarly, the chemical admixture, like chemical admixtures, mineral admixtures has two roles. So chemical admixtures can be like added as an extra ingredient so that the required performance will be obtained. Whereas mineral admixtures can be added for that extra purpose, like for a particular application, as well as these can be help us to replace some amount of cement. Okay. Generally, these admixtures are used in the form of powders. So you can see here different types of mineral admixtures that we have in its form, powdery form. So just to give a background of concrete, so we have discussed so many things in detail, especially the ingredients that we use to prepare concrete like cement and admixtures. Then we discussed about water, and then we discussed about chemical admixtures as well, which is added in addition to the main ingredients of concrete like cement, water and aggregates. Okay. So you should know that concrete is the second highest consumed material in the world, just next to water. So imagine how huge amount is being consumed overall across the globe. If that is the case, then the cement consumed for this public preparation will also be high. So we all know the cement production gives results in huge CO2 in the atmosphere. So for a sustainable environment, it's our responsibility to reduce such huge consumption of cement so that the global effect of releasing CO2 will be reduced. Okay. So what do we expect from concrete? Like the desired properties for a good performance concrete is, one is workability. The concrete should be flowable. For that we add water content and the chemical admixtures. And the second thing is compressive strength. Basically, it indicates how dense the matrix is. Matrix, the compressive strength will be more. So it results in the indication of pore volume. So if we have to reduce the pore volume for obtaining the better compressive strength and the durability. So we can have pores, but when we have connected pores, that results in durability issues, because when we have connected pores, that will allow other deleterious elements from outside to get enter inside the concrete, like sulfides or chlorides or even water, so that will react in concrete as well as react with steel to deteriorate its performance. Okay, the other main thing is dimensional stability. That depends how well the matrix is packed, especially the aggregates that we discussed in the aggregate lectures. We have set of aggregates and the packing we discussed to obtain a good stable matrix. So dimensional stability. So these are the things required for a better concrete performance. Alright, but when we talk about concrete, there are sensitive parts in concrete which will result in that will become weak zones. So those weak zones will result in poor performance, or when it comes into contact with other deleterious elements, that can reduce the performance of concrete. So let us look in detail what are those products available or that is there inside as weak parts. So we know that cement and aggregates, water are the main ingredient, and when we add water, the hydration process starts and we get some cement hydration products, mainly CSH gel. That is, the role of CSH gel is to bind things together, and that is in the form of gel and typically available. It occupies about 6 to 65% of the volume. And then we have this calcium hydroxide, which is basically hexagonal crystals, and the amount of calcium hydroxide in the product will be about 15 to 20%. And then we have some amount of calcium sulfoaluminates and crystalline. All right. And the problem is this calcium hydroxide that becomes the weak part of the concrete. Why? Because that get easily attacked with chemicals. When some chemical get in contact, the calcium hydroxide that reacts so quickly, and that will result in some deteriorating products that can damage the system. And another thing is pores. So when we have pores and pore connectivity, as I said, that will give paths for other elements to get in and result in poor performance. So inefficient filling of void spaces or interconnectivity of pores, especially in the transition zone. So you can see here, this is aggregate, this region is aggregate, and you can see transition zone here. So basically that indicates the zone between the hydration product and the aggregate. There is a, between the aggregate we have this transition zone, and we have this bulk cement paste, where you can see this formation of CSH here. This dark flower kind of thing indicates the CSH, and the needle is etching it, and this hexagonal shape is calcium hydroxide. So there are some pores available. Here, the other than these, you can see a lot of pores inside the interfacial transition zone. So these are the weakest parts in the concrete zone. So we have to make use of this, and we have to see how this weakest part can become a stronger. How can we utilize this to attain a best performance of concrete? So we know these are the weakest zone, and we are trying to convert this weakest zone to the side. Like we know that calcium hydroxide reacts so quickly, and it is sensitive to react, and it gets attacked by chemicals. So the main objective is that we have to reduce the availability of calcium hydroxide so that it will not get attacked by chemicals. So one way is to convert this calcium hydroxide to a CSH gel. And this pores, as I said, the pores, it kind of provides path for other elements to get in. So we have to optimize these pores so that the pore size can be reduced. So for that we have a solution so that the grain size can be optimized with the use of fine mineral admixtures. So when we have some fine mineral additives, so they kind of gets filled the open pores available in the concrete matrix. So there comes the use of mineral admixtures in concrete that provides solution to address these things by converting the CaOH2 to CSH gel, and then by optimizing the grain sizes so that the pores get filled and reduced. So other benefits of using mineral admixtures in concretes are we can get longer serviceability in terms of improving the performance so that we can obtain long-term durability, which will result in reduced potentials of cracking. So when the member is not cracking in a shorter duration, so that will enhance the performance, enhance the durability performance, and gives longer serviceability. And at the same time, these mineral admixtures are basically the waste or byproducts of some products from industries. Like I will tell in detail how we are obtaining these mineral admixtures so you can understand the process of formation of these kind of mineral admixtures. So we basically we are using the waste or byproducts from industry, and in such cases that helps us to reduce the usage of cement clinker, which helps us to reduce about 6 to 7% of total greenhouse gas emission from cement production. Okay, and other than this, we have some cost benefit to cost ratio. So when we increase the longer service life, basically the repair and maintenance cost is getting reduced. So the cost of the benefit, like overall cost, becomes so economic when we use actions. For example, if there is a repair or if the member is experiencing corrosion, so the repair cost for addressing those things will consume some lump sum amount. So there is a survey that indicates that overall across the globe, cost spent for such repair work is about 5% of developed nations' GDP. So this is a huge amount, and when we use such mineral admixtures, this helps us to save such repair cost. So mineral admixtures are also called as supplementary cementitious material. Why? Because we can replace some amount of cement using mineral admixtures. So that helps us to reduce the usage of cement clinker and helps us to reduce some greenhouse gas emission which occurs by cement production. So now let's look at role of this supplementary cementitious materials. So this provides additional CSH in concrete matrix, and then on the type of admixtures, mineral admixtures can be cementitious or pozzolanic. Cementitious means the materials that directly react with water and gives cement hydration products. Okay, so if it's a pozzolanic, that cannot directly react with water to produce cement hydration products. Okay, but that has tendency to produce cement hydration product in the presence of, or when it is reacting with cement hydrating product itself. Okay, so standalone, these pozzolanic materials cannot produce cement hydration product, but when this reacts with some product that has occurred during the hydration process, so in the presence of water, then it can give additional cement hydration product that becomes beneficial to the concrete structures. So that is there put in words here based on ASTM definition that we may have some kind of reactive silica or alumina based material which possesses by themselves little or no cementitious properties. But when that reacts with calcium hydroxide, that is the weakest zone in the concrete, which is sensitive for reaction. So when such material reacts with this calcium hydroxide in the presence of water at ordinary temperature, that gives us a product which possesses some cementitious property. So as a whole, like when we use the siliceous or aluminum with respect to water, it will not give any cementitious property. But when these materials react with calcium hydroxide in the presence of water, that gives us some product which has cementitious properties. So we are going to make advantage of it by using this in concrete, where we have this weakest region, or where we have this sensitive calcium hydroxide which can react so quickly, and we are making a positive benefit of it. If it reacts with other deleterious chemicals, that will result in some durability issues. But here this reacts with some compounds which can give us cementitious property that will give more strength and durable properties. Okay. In addition to this, this may also act as fillers and provides denser structures. So in general, this admixtures has a finer. So the fineness of aggregates will be very high, so that it can fill small pores. So when those small pores get filled, then the matrix becomes so denser, and that gives a durable structure, and that kind of reduces the porosity and permeability. So these are the main benefits of using CMs. So that gives us additional cementitious properties like CSH gel or CAH gel, that depends on the reactive material that we use. If we use silica based material, then that gives CSH gel, that is calcium silicate hydrate. If we use the aluminum based material, that gives us calcium aluminum hydrate. Alright. So one is like it gives cementitious properties, another one it acts as a filler so that the structure becomes more denser. So from this we will continue in the next class. We again meet on Tuesday morning 9:30. Sorry, we have Monday class, and then tomorrow's class got postponed to Tuesday 9:30 slot. I heard that you have exams tomorrow at 10:30 during this slot.
Yes, ma'am.
You have exam? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We have at 10:30 tomorrow.
Okay, if you have exam, then we have that slot on Tuesday. If you do not have exam, please let me know, then we can have tomorrow itself, in case if it get cancelled or. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, please stop recording.